New year, fresh start, time to recreate myself. What will I find when I walk down this path? New friends, new goals, new challenges to be met. I will meet them and I am going to succeed. New year, fresh start, it's time for self-discovery.
Episode 14. Dinner Party.
This is just nice. Isn't this just nice, Noah? We have a whole fuck ton of people tonight, unexpectedly.
The fox sat on his couch right beside Doma, while the other guests tonight sat around the table. Demi and Issa sat on either end of the table on a couple of pillows, while Kazuna sat right beside Noah on the other couch. The air dragged down on them all, and despite the hot food and plates placed on the coffee table, no one had taken any or started eating. No one smiled aside from Samuel. Mischief danced in his eyes. Doma just kept turning her attention from one person to the next, and her bottom lip quivered. Demi, Issa, and Kazuna just kept staring off into space with the same sort of expression. Tight mouths, slightly wrinkled brows, and maybe just a hint of disappointment. Noah sat still, with a mortified expression on his face.
I'd like to express my gratitude at your collective generosity.
He peeked at Issa.
It's been such a long time since I've eaten fried chicken. It smells great. And to you, Demi?
His smile grew a little more.
I love stir fry. It was so kind of you. And Kazuna, was it? Thank you for bringing.
He paused and his face contorted mockingly.
Oh, wait. You didn't bring anything with you, did you?
Kazuna narrowed her eyes and a dark rage flickered in her irises.
That's okay. It's fine that you're eating anyway. I mean, after all, you've known our boy the longest, technically.
Demi and Issa flashed Kazuna a brief glance before they sought out random objects elsewhere in the apartment. Samuel's smile expanded wider.
Really? You've known him the longest? Were you two friends from a long time ago?
Not really. He just saved me from someone absolutely terrible is all.
Saved you?
Doma tilted her head, and then delight exploded across her face like fireworks.
Wait! Are you the little girl? The one he saved at the Angel Castle?
For a moment, Kazuna just stared at the young middle schooler, and then she turned a weighed glance on Noah.
Holy hellos! You told her about what you are before me, too?
Demi brought up her knees to her chest.
Funny you sounding so possessive, considering that you didn't even know who he was until last night.
Oh shit, that's right. But then again, didn't you both find out at the same time? Which reminds me, why did you get to be the one who sat next to Noah for dinner?
Dude, stop it. This isn't funny.
Fuck you! No!
Samuel's tail whipped about frantically.
This is way better than reality TV.
Please stop being mean. I don't like it when you're mean.
Samuel's ears flattened, and he let out a heavy sigh.
Okay.
Whatever, I'm not being possessive. Why are you acting so huffy? You fought against him. To be honest, I forgot you were so old.
I am not being huffy. And the fox brings up a good point. Why are you sitting beside him? You've been mean to him for most of the year.
I wasn't being mean to him specifically. I'm that way with everyone who isn't a demon. You know how it is for our kind. Those damn purists are the fucking worst.
She paused and gestured toward Issa.
No offense.
And what's that supposed to mean? I'm not a purist just because I'm a mage blood. I'm the most accepting person ever. In fact, I didn't freak out like you two when I found out about Noah. In fact, I found out first.
That's because Noah is compassionate, and you needed special ingredients for your sister. Had your sister not been cursed, then Noah wouldn't have even told you who he was.
Hey, so how about that angelic class I'm going to teach? That's going to be fun, right?
Everyone stopped and glanced at him. Samuel arched an eyebrow at him.
You're teaching a class on the language. Doesn't that conflict with your stance on not getting involved?
Well, unfortunately, I don't have a choice in the matter. After unleashing my power like I did, Evanos is going to start hunting us more intensely. To be honest, I'm tired of running. I understand if you want to part ways. Probably get worse before it gets better.
What kind of cold-hearted motherfucker do you think I am? We ride or die. Simple as that. Still, I'm a little confused. You're teaching a class to students.
Oh, no. Only adults.
Aw, but I want to take the class.
Sorry, kiddo. The stipulation that he placed on the class was that only adults and select teachers could take it. If he's going to start offering angelic lessons for kids, then you best believe I'm going to cram that class so full of Heliotians there won't be room for anyone else.
I understand.
Well then, can I take it? I'm an adult, and I'm interested.
Kazuna opened her mouth to rebuttal, but Demi said,
I don't see why not. Since you know about Noah and you're interested.
Demi flashed Kazuna a sparkle of the eye. Issa gestured silently to Doma and then winked, which caused the little girl to grin.
So why are you offering the class?
Noah pointed toward the food.
Hey, let's talk while we eat. I'm starved.
No one spoke while the food was passed out and selected, but as soon as people had full plates before them, Doma asked a question.
Well, I suppose since you know about it, it's okay for me to say some things. Just keep it secret, okay, Squirt?
Doma nodded eagerly.
I mentioned this during our meeting with Headmistress Darbo, but we've gathered some intelligence on the state of Heavenos and its action over the last year. It's quite alarming, and we are also intercepting angelic communications. The downside is that none of us speak angelic.
Have you told your father about me yet?
Kazuna winced and then nodded.
Great. Just great.
Yeah, he had mixed emotions when he found out. Anger, confusion, but concern mostly.
Concern? Like, for your safety and the safety of the demon students?
Yeah, but more than that. For the state of this realm itself. You magebloods may not see it that way, but this realm and dimension, or whatever you want to call it, is sort of a colony for my kind. We want to protect it and maintain access to its resources and such.
Yeah, we devils see it the same way.
A colony? But you don't control us.
Control is a subjective concept. We may not govern you, but we protect you from unseen forces and dangers, have contributions to your economy, and provide your kind access to magical artifacts, substances, and such that you wouldn't have had access to without us. That's why your dimension is sort of a colony.
So since the king knows about me, is he for certain taking the class?
Yes. So is my mother, my brother, and my 3 sisters.
The Devil Queen is also taking the course, as are her advisors.
Well, at least Headmistress Darbo will be there. And Issa, I suppose, now. It won't be a total Bright War reunion party.
Actually, it's funny you mentioned that. You may not remember it, but you actually fought the Devil Queen one-on-one during the Battle of Yodesh.
The Battle of Yodesh? But the only devil I didn't kill. You've got to be shitting me.
Nope. Just so you know, she is really excited to see you again.
Doma waved her hand for a moment.
Excuse me, Ms. Vaughtheis? I have a question.
Yeah, sure, what's up? And you can call me Miss Demi if you want.
Okay, Ms. Demi. I've heard about what it's like to fight in the Bright War from Mr. Noah's perspective. But can you please tell us a story about something you remember? I mean, if it's not too painful or triggering.
Something I remember?
Demi tapped her lip with her forefinger.
How about I tell you about the Battle of Yodesh? I fought in the battle, and even got to see the fight between Marzo and the current queen.
Yay, thank you!
Yeah, this does sound pretty interesting. I've often heard about demon stories, but I've not heard a lot about devil experiences.
Okay, so where should I begin exactly?
Yodesh. Of all places where battles had to be fought, Yodesh should not have been one of them. Once upon a time, the world of Yodish had been lush, flourishing, and beautiful. Demi had heard about its wonders many times as a child, and her mother always spoke so highly of the distant world. In fact, her mother often promised to take Demi there one day on holiday. That promise invigorated Demi as a youth. She always knew she would one day visit the pleasant world. But not like this. Demi stood beside her devil comrades, dressed much in the same way that they were. She wore a black-colored iron breastplate, a pair of matching bracers, some greaves, and a pair of boots. She carried a black iron shield, and in her other hand, Demi wielded a vicious warhammer that she affectionately named Trenton throughout the course of her war experience. She frowned as she stared into the terrain. The trees that had once been so remarkable had been scorched and pulled up. The long grass had been trampled, and the flowers that had once dominated the area were nothing more than a legend on the lips of those who remembered them. Where once the air had the most pleasant floral scents, only sweat, blood, and regret saturated the field. This particular site had been contested over many times, in smaller skirmishes, but it was not like this. On one side were the combined armies of Hellos, the Demon Legions, and the Devil Corps. The other side of the battlefield was bathed in constant and ever-stretching light. Oh, so dreaded light. From this distance, the angels were nothing more than faceless monstrosities, there only to rob the lives of those Demi came to care for and know. She would see them soon enough. Bitterness bubbled in her stomach, and she gripped her weapon harder. She stood toward the front lines of the devil forces, so she had perfect view of their general. General Shambine Desora was a devil among devils. She was immensely powerful with magic, had an impressive set of twisting black horns. She came from incredible pedigree, and to boot, she was the most delightful person to talk to as well. Well, in normal circumstances anyway. She had long brown hair, a pair of hazel eyes, and dark skin the color of ash.
My brothers and sisters, we stand on the broken remains of what once used to be paradise. Once it was a spectacular treasure that was valued by all. But they,
she gestured toward the opposing army,
sought to take all of its bounties for themselves. They came here with their armies, their talk of purification, and their greed. They ruined this world and ravaged the lives of those who lived here. Are we just going to stand by and let them swallow Yodesh whole?
Demi joined her voice among her peers.
No! Then steel your spirits, for if we can win the day, Yodesh can be rebuilt.
The Devil General drew her weapon, a scythe that carried the name Soul Bleeder, from the air and raised it above her head.
Roar for me, devils! Roar for me!
Once more, Demi aligned her voice and her discontent along with her comrades. In response, the angel army also screamed out. Deafening hollers slammed into one another, and Demi's head spun a little. This had not been her first battle, but it had been her first one where legendary enemies were on the other side. Devil intelligence revealed that the Archangel General Kazuna and her companion Marzo were among the angels. Kazuna was deadly in her own right, for every devil had heard of the masterful grace and the skill of the terrible Archangel warrior. However, Marzo's name sent violent and sickening shivers down Demi's spine. While Marzo lacked the experience and the skill of the previous Archangel, Marzo brought about other complications with him. The knowledge of the effects of his weapons, armor, and artifacts were not lost to devil kind. Like many other devils around her, Demi activated her latent magical abilities. Her muscles quivered, her fear dripped away to the back of her mind, Her skin lightly crystallized in a layer of thick tissue, and her warhammer shimmered with a faint blue light. General Desora turned around and then pointed her scythe at the other army. Moments later, she charged. Demi's legs moved on their own, and a great pulse of fear and dread flickered in her stomach. She pressed it down, but its presence was not something she could overlook. Would today be the day she finally died? Maybe so. The armies of the angels and the Holosians clashed, and Demi met many an angel in the mortal dance. She raised her shield and parried the blows of the foul-winged foes. When openings presented themselves, she slammed her hammer into their faces, arms and shoulders. Helmets and armor crunched under her might, and often the kinetic energy from her hammer stunned the angels long enough for her to strike a more vital spot. Angelic swords scraped against her arms and exposed thighs, but Demi clobbered each person who tried to take her life. One particularly large angel managed to utterly smash her shield, so Demi resorted to two-handing her warhammer. She bobbed and weaved and struck as hard as she could. Someone cut her face and she crushed theirs. Another person broke off a piece of her left horn, and she smashed to their wrists, right before she struck them in the side of the head. Her devil blood flowed from various wounds, but her arms kept pumping wildly. The screams of the dead and dying wrapped around her like the unwanted touching from a stranger. Demi tried to shrug it off, and yet she could not escape. Devil faces looked up at her with blank expressions, and yet Demi didn't focus on them. She couldn't afford to. If she gave the dead around her a more critical stare, one of two things might occur, if not both. One, she would see someone she knew, and despair would encapsulate her spirit. And two, a wayward blade or axe would split her open. Demi had just crushed another angel's skull when she noticed a wide space where a pair of individuals fought, one of which was General Desora herself. Her face was contorted in such amusement and delight, and her scythe spun around her expertly. Her opponent matched her speed and skill, and he wielded a spear that glowed with a bright light. The angel had a full helmet on, but it was more intricate than other angel helms she had seen that day. His wings were more brilliant than that of the normal angels around him, too. One particular feature caught Demi's attention. The young man, who looked a little older than a child, perhaps fresh from his trials of adolescence, had silver rings around his irises. They glimmered in the depths of his helmet. The young archangel's armor glimmered with a profound magical aura, as did the many artifacts that the man wore. Demi felt the individual auras pulsating in the air. Her mouth hung ajar. From the corner of her eye, a blade whooshed closer to her. Demi leaned back and then engaged with her latest opponent. They spun wildly, and Demi ducked in desperation. The angel was quick and fresher than she was. Still, in the last moment, Demi uppercutted the man's chin with her hammer. He stepped back, and then Demi squashed his head. Just as the angel died, another angel jumped at her, and another did so after that. When Demi finally got a respite, she gazed around her. The general was nowhere to be seen, nor was her legendary opponent. They were both lost in an ever-moving tapestry of death and blood. Demi gritted her teeth and threw herself against the next angel. Minutes meant nothing, and the only instincts that thundered within Demi's mind was an urgency to make it to the next moment. A series of horns blew out, lording over the battlefield. They weren't devil or demon horns. Demi braced herself. All at once, the angels rose into the air and started flying away the best they could. Of course, devil and demon kind tried to chase after them, but a rain of light energy arrows fell upon them from the angels' rear line. Demi had been one of the lucky ones, and only caught an arrow in the shoulder. A great roar echoed out, and all of the devils around her started raising their weapons up high. Demi did the same.
I want to clarify something. The angels were told your people had weapons of mass destruction on Yodesh, so that's why we went in.
Yodesh was a peaceful world where creatures went to recover and relax. The entire dimension was populated by pacifists. And also to clarify, it was to my understanding that Hellas didn't even have a military presence in Yodesh.
Noah winced and sat back in his chair.
So what happened to Yodesh?
Well, after the Battle of Yodesh, the Holosian army set up a series of forts to protect the land. However, the angels returned and used a terrible weapon that disrupted the ecosystem of the world. Yodesh transformed from a beautiful, lush paradise into a barren, dead landscape. That wasn't one of yours, was it?
No. I heard about that weapon, though. That's one of the reasons I started to rethink my commitment to the war effort. A lot of terrible things came out of that war.
For nearly a moment, no one said anything. Doma frowned and then pointed to a dish in the middle of the table.
Hey, look, there's one dumpling left. Do you all want to play Jankin for it?
Jenkin? That's a kid's game.
Noah held out his hand.
Oh, are you scared you'll lose?
Issa's mouth fell open for a moment, but then she placed her hand beside Noah's. So did Demi, Doma, and Kazuna. Samuel just watched with a calculating gaze.
Okay, ready?
Jenkin, come on!
In the end, Kazuna won out with paper. However, when she reached for the last dumpling, her hand went through its form.
What in the hellos?
Samuel let out a chuckle as he finished chewing. The dumpling in the bowl faded from view, and all eyes locked on the grinning fox. Kazuna stood up.
Hey! That was my dumpling, you stupid fox!